Hi everyone, my name is Daniel and I would like to welcome you to today's video. It's like a relaxed talk video about a product which I bought twice for my camera system, one for Sony, one for Canon. Today we speak about the Profoto A10. First of all, I got the Profoto A1 for my previous Canon camera, which was the Canon EOS 5D Mark IV a couple years ago. I would say that was back in 2018 for about 900 euros or something. The Profoto A10 retails in Germany for about 1,100 euros. You can ask yourself now the question, is it worth to get a flash like this? Of course, you can get a cheap Android phone for 200 bucks, or you get the brand new iPhone 16 Pro Max and you will feel why one phone cost more than 1,000 and the other phone cost just 200 bucks. It's the same with these flashes. First of all, the build quality of these flashes is pretty amazing. I dropped one or the other a couple times already because I used to trigger these flashes using the Profoto Connect, which is attached to this camera at the moment, and I usually hold this flash here in my hand. So you get this battery, so you don't need to buy AAA or AA batteries 4 times or 8 times for a shooting. It's this battery and that's it. You can get spare batteries and I can recommend that you get them. They retail for about 100 bucks. So if you get this flash, you will get the flash, you will get a bounce card and another diffuser which you can put on top. That's super easy to be removed because it's magnetic. And as you can see, this here is round shaped and not rectangular anymore. And you can get these adapters here and you can attach them to this flash. So they are magnetic. And for some reason, when I bought this Profoto A10 back in 2021, it still came with this nice adapter here. It's called the Profoto Wide Lens. Unfortunately, Profoto is not producing this anymore. There's a kind of a different version for about 100 bucks. I don't know, I haven't tried it, and it's really worth getting it because you will get a super soft light on your images. What I like so much about Profoto is you can attach it and there you go. You can start shooting immediately. There are also different gel kits available for this Profoto A10, so you can produce a different kind of light. They're like warm filters, cool filters, a pink filter, yellow filter, blue filter, something like that, and you can easily attach it like seen here in this video. As you can see here on the bottom, if you attach this flash to your camera, this one here is made of metal. So if you ever drop that flash, you don't need to worry that these kind of edges will break off like it used to be with cheap flashes, which have this kind of attachment here in plastic, which is like super crap. You have a metal surface down here, so it won't break off. You have this lock switch here to attach it to your camera so it won't fall off. And this flash here is available, for instance, for Canon, Nikon, Sony, Fuji and many more. If you want to get a spare battery, it will cost you about 100 bucks, and I can recommend that you do so because you don't want to run out of battery while shooting a wedding, for instance. And as you have seen, I have attached this small device here to my camera. That is the Profoto Connect. And I have 2 of them, one for Canon and the other one for Sony. Because I usually do event photography, and one way to do it is to do it in this way. You know, I go around and take pictures like this, and I do this already for more than 10 years, so it's nothing special to me. And I used to keep this flash up here because it gives me more kind of a natural looking light for my images. The light tends to come from above and not from the front. That's why I like to trigger this flash wirelessly. This Profoto Connect here retails for about 200 bucks. If you get it on eBay, it's roughly 150. You can charge it via USB-C using a power bank or your phone adapter, doesn't really matter, and it will last for about 30 hours. So if you're continuously shooting for 30 hours, you're good getting this device. And it keeps up firing the flash even at far distances of 50 up to 100 meters. It's really worth getting such a device. There's a small button here at the end that you have to push to get it off your camera. This device here is pretty simple to use. It's either off, you turn it and it goes to auto. So if you want to trigger this flash in TTL, or if you want to shoot manually, you just turn it to manual. If you want to turn it off, just turn it off this way. And if you want to turn it back on, just move it in the other direction. And as you can see here on top is a small LED, which is flashing white if it's connected to a flash. And if you charge it, It's kind of an orange tone. Let's say you made a really good deal on eBay for a flash, but it's not made for your camera. So let's say you're shooting with a Canon and you have this flash here for Sony. You can still use it with your camera if you have a Profoto. That's the Profoto Connect for Canon, which I can use on a Canon camera, but I cannot use this Profoto Connect on a Sony camera. But I can trigger my Profoto A10, which is made for Sony in this case here, on my Canon EOS R5. And if you wonder how that works, so you go into the menu of your camera and you select Air to On, and then it automatically connects to the Profoto Connect. Let's say you're together with multiple photographers and they all use the same system. You can use a different channel, so you won't trigger all the other flashes. Usability wise, it's super simple. So you can turn this flash 360 degrees around. You can tilt it. As you might see, the build quality is super good. It's made of plastic, but it's solid. It doesn't feel cheap at all. And as you can see here on the lower side, this one here is all metal. It does feel really good. So you take it in your hand. It's like getting the new iPhone 16 Pro Max. While with other flashes, you might feel an Android phone for about $100, for instance. So here on the side is a switch, which says TTL and manual. So you can easily switch this flash to TTL if you don't fire it up in manual mode, and you can go to your Profoto Connect and set that to auto. So if you want to turn on this flash, it's super easy. You just have to push this white button here, then you need to turn around the slider and then it's on. Since this is my personal opinion and my own experience that I got with Profoto, I will tell you something about the settings I usually use. So first of all, the menu is super simple. Let's jump through it very quick. So you can change the group, you can change the channel, you can set air on, so you can fire that automatically. And if you ask me now, what is the difference between the Profoto A1 and the Profoto A10X, which was made for Sony? Pretty simple, it has Bluetooth. So you can use the Profoto app on your phone, you can enable Bluetooth, and you can use your phone to fire up this flash. So if you don't want to carry this big camera with you and you have an event that you need to shoot but you don't want to carry a big camera, or you just want to do some product photography with your phone without using a bigger camera, so you can trigger this flash using your phone with the Profoto app. You can set everything inside the app and you can even update the firmware wirelessly using the Profoto app. Super nicely done. And the menu is, it's so super simple. You just go in there, you have the zoom, you have the head, which is set to on. You can turn on and off Bluetooth. You have the general section. You can set a continuous light if you wish to. It says minimum, maximum, proportional, or anti-flicker. You have an AF assist light if you need that. And now we come to a big problem shooting with mirrorless camera, like this one here. That's the Sony A7C Mark II. I have also a Sony A7 IV, and I do have this Canon EOS R5 Mark II, and at the moment I'm filming myself with the Canon EOS R3. And the problem is, while shooting an event like a wedding or party or in a nightclub, that you don't get this red looking AF help light here from the flash. So it's kind of hard to focus for the camera in a really dark room. So I was super annoyed by that, because I bought a super expensive camera back in the days and I bought this super expensive flash here for $1,000 and I couldn't trigger it. So I was in a super dark nightclub and it was super hard for the camera to focus because it didn't see anything. And now I give you a small hint. Turn on the flash and then there's this model light, which is just this button right here. Turn it on and then it gives you the model light. And if you walk through the club, doesn't really matter if you have now the flash attached to your camera or if you fire up the flash like I do most of the time like this, it finds the focus immediately. And the people don't pay me for taking normal pictures like a group photo where you have like 3 drunk guys standing next to each other. No, they pay me because the photos, they look authentic. And you can see from the faces of the people that they really enjoyed having party in that club. And that's why I set the camera to continue shooting, let's say 8 to 10 frames per second, depends obviously on the camera that you have. I will set the autofocus to continuous and I have the face tracking on. In some clubs, this one here is super annoying if you walk through the club with that model light. But if you don't have it attached to your camera, you can point it just downwards, like walking through the club, then you have a small light that actually shows you the way so you don't step into a glass or something, or you just hold it to your body and no one sees that light. And if you see someone having like a super great time, you just go there, fire it up, and you get the shot of your life and you get really good event photos using this flash here with a fast autofocus then, because the camera finds the focus immediately. Even this light here is not super bright, the camera finds at least a focus or a contrast, and that's the point why you have to use this model light here in really dark rooms. If you shoot a wedding and you want to have one hand free, at least you can attach obviously the flash straight to your camera. As you can see here, it gets kind of high using this camera and the flash attached to it. So if you walk through the club and someone is pushing against the flash, I don't know how much weight it will cope in order to stay alive, but I'm just a bit worried about that. I don't know, the flash will break off my camera. It never happened to me, to be honest, because I used to trigger this flash wirelessly, so it fell down a couple times, but it didn't really hurt the flash at all. Of course, it looks super used right now, but it's producing a lot of money also on the other side, because that's my main thing, like taking event photos. And there are different kind of Profoto Connect. So this one here is the Profoto Connect, and there's also the Profoto Connect Pro. So this one here retails usually at about 200 bucks, and the Profoto Connect Pro for about 400 bucks. And the difference is, on the Profoto Connect Pro, you get a display here on top, so you can set each flash manually. That means if you have a Profoto A10 or a Profoto B10 or a Profoto A2, you can go into the menu, you can set up one flash here, one flash on the other side, and one flash behind you or on top of the camera, and you can set it on the Profoto Connect Pro what kind of intensity each individual flash should have. That is super nice, but as I said, it also comes with a price. Cool thing is you can update the firmware of the Profoto Connect Pro and the Profoto Connect wirelessly using your phone and the Profoto app. And I've been using now this flash for the last, I have to say, like 6 or 8 years. Previously it was the Profoto A1, which didn't have Bluetooth, so I switched to the Profoto A10, and I have that now for Sony and for Canon. I do have 3 batteries. If you charge that battery from 0 to 100%, it will take about 50 minutes to an hour or so. Unfortunately, and that is my idea, it would be so nice from Profoto if these kind of battery packs would have a USB-C port here at the side to charge them straight away using a power bank, for instance, and not to carry this charger with me all the time. So that is something where I would say Profoto can still improve, but regarding the light that you get out of this flash, it looks super nice. So my customer always wants the same image style on their photo. So they don't want to have much background on it. That's the reason why I used to take my photos with a 3.5 to an aperture of f4. If I want to get some motion in there, I try to expose a little bit longer, let's say 40 or 50 of a second. But usually if I want to freeze the situation, I used to take my photos with an 80th of a second, ISO 600 to 800, usually when I take just a photo of a single person or 2 persons. Or if I take a photo of a group, I adjust the ISO to, let's say, 1200 or 1600, or I simply turn this dial up to increase the intensity of that flash. How long does the battery last? The way I shoot is usually the settings I just told you, 80th of a second, aperture f3.5 to 4, ISO 600 to 800 in a dark nightclub. I used to go here to manual, and I roughly take between 3.8 and 4.2, and the images will always look the same. By the way, if you like the image style you see here in this video, you will find that as an Adobe Lightroom preset in the video description below, so make sure to check that out. Something I like so much about this flash is you have a zoom dial here at the head. Let's say with old flashes it was super complicated to set a zoom range, but in here it's so simple. Just turn that dial and off you go. So you can focus the light more to the center, or you can expand the light through the entire room with a single turn of that dial up here. And with the settings here on the flash, let's say between 3.8 and 4.2, roughly like that. 4.2 is most of the time too much, except if you take a photo of a group. I can get about 2,000 photos with one battery in a nightclub. And that is super nice, and that's usually the amount of photos I take, and out of these 2,000 I take 100 which are the best ones. And if you say, wow, that is a lot of photos, and you will probably waste your shutter, but the point is I earn my money with that. I'd rather get a new shutter within like 2 or 3 years and made a lot of money taking really nice party pictures and get these photos where the people show their emotions and you can really see, wow, that was a nice evening, instead of thinking too much about my shutter. There is something else I want to tell you, the camera I use. So I have here a Sony a7C Mark II, which unfortunately only has one SD slot. If I use the continuous shooting mode here on this camera, well, it works nice, but at a certain point it will start to buffer, and then it takes a small amount of time until I can continue shooting, even if I use a really fast memory card, in this case here from Angelbird, with 300 Mbits, and that's a V90 card you will find in the video description below. That's one of the fastest at the moment you can get on the market, and it's really reliable. But what you notice after about 10 to 15 seconds, that it needs to buffer and you cannot use the camera in this time. So I also have a Sony a7 IV with a CF Express Type A card, which I don't have any problems with, and I used to take a lot of photos also using my Canon EOS R3, and that doesn't have any buffer problems either, with CF Express Type B card also from Angelbird. So if I put this flash here on top of my Sony, as you can see, I can fire it up as much as I want, and at a certain point now it starts to buffer. For nightclub photography and weddings, I have this 24mm 1.4 G Master lens. It's old, but it's performing really well. It's super sharp. It has a super fast autofocus in combination with the right camera. And the reason why I love a 24mm so much, I used to have the Canon version, which was the 1.4 EF version Mark II. It's a fixed focal length, but it's super fast when focusing, especially during low light. And it doesn't distort too much because it's not a 14mm, it's not a 10mm, it's not a 20mm, it's a 24mm, and it gives you a super nice view. If you don't have enough space, that's the lens to go with. And if you have more space wherever you shoot, I would also consider a 35mm as the appropriate lens. And I'm filming myself at the moment also with a 35mm lens, but for a nightclub, if you have a lot of people standing there and you have a huge crowd, it's sometimes too close and you can get not some space in between to get a group on that photo. So that's why I have also a 24mm here for my Canon camera. Even if it's a fixed focal length, I would say for nightclub photography, you don't really need a zoom lens. If you want to get closer, let's say to the DJ, and if you want to shoot under natural lighting, get a 135mm, an 85 or 50mm, push up the ISO, make a black and white photo, put in some grain or use the natural ISO look of your camera, and you will get really nice photos as well. So that is my story behind these two flashes that I can recommend highly to you guys. If you have any further questions, please make sure to leave a comment below. If you use a different version, just let me know which version you use. And if you want to get this flash and you live in Germany, just let me know and I will connect you with my favorite photo store. And if you would like to support my channel, you will find the Adobe presets or the flashes or the battery or the Profoto Connect in the video description below. See you next time und tschüss.